I never imagined a tiny accident in the parking garage of our Seattle headquarters, a splash of caramel latte on my manager's sleeve, would be the spark that ignited everything. "Watch where you're going." Kristen Harlow snapped the second her cup tilted. The latte streaked across her cream blazer, a thin line of brown that looked far worse than it was. I stepped back, holding my laptop bag tight against my chest. "I am really sorry," I said quickly. "I did not see you coming around the corner." Kristen flicked her eyes over me, a sharp scan of irritation. "Of course you did not," she muttered. "You never project anything clearly." "Do you—" It was a strange comment, too pointed to be casual. "Still." I swallowed the sting and followed her into the building. I reminded myself that today mattered. My pitch for the Evergreen Earth Initiative was the culmination of months of strategy sessions, late-night drafts, and the kind of focus that made me forget to eat. If I could land them, it would be the biggest client I had handled since joining Puget Avenue Creative. By the time we reached the conference floor, Kristen was already in presentation mode, chin high, voice confident, every step rehearsed. I stayed behind her, palms damp but steady enough. The clients were already seated, folders open, waiting. I started speaking, guiding them through the opening of the campaign. My voice, soft and airy as always, carried just enough to fill the room. And then Kristen cut through my sentence like a blade. "Shut up." The words hit before I understood them. The room froze with me. A chair creaked. Someone coughed. Kristen let out a practiced smile. "Sorry, everyone. We will not let this strange voice continue any longer. I will take it from here." Then she did it, tilted her head, widened her eyes, and repeated my last words in a shrill, childish imitation. A few people shifted uncomfortably. One man tried not to laugh. My throat tightened so hard it hurt. I closed my folder. I stood, and without a word, I walked out of the conference room, past the glass doors, down the hallway that suddenly felt unbearably long. By the time the elevator closed, my hands were shaking. I did not look back. I shut off my phone the moment I stepped inside my apartment. The screen lit up once, twice, vibrating against my palm, but I held the power button until it went black. The quiet felt unreal, like the whole world had been muted except for the replay of Kristen's voice in my head. "Shut up." Strange voice. The imitation. The laughter. Every second replayed with perfect clarity, sharper and crueler than before. I dropped my bag onto the couch and sat down without taking off my coat. My chest felt too tight to breathe normally. When I finally spoke aloud, my voice cracked the same way it always had since I was a child. "Stop thinking about it," I whispered, even though I knew I could not. My voice had always been soft, higher than other girls my age. In elementary school, boys called me Whistle Girl. In middle school, a teacher once asked if I had swallowed a helium balloon. My mother took me to speech therapy for years, but the exercises only made my voice clearer, not deeper. I learned to live with it, or at least I thought I had. Day one passed in a blur. I stayed curled under a blanket, barely moving. When I finally turned on my phone just long enough to order food, I saw nearly 10 missed calls from unknown numbers. I shut it off again before reading anything. On day 2, my coworker Jessa left a voicemail that broke through the numbness. "Naila, are you okay? People are talking about what happened. Kristen is pretending it was a joke. The clients were confused. Call me if you can." Her voice sounded unsure, like she wanted to help but did not want to be pulled into whatever fallout was coming. By day 3, I opened my laptop and stared at a blank document for nearly an hour before typing out a resignation letter. My hands trembled as I spelled out every word. "I am resigning immediately." I stopped there. I read it twice. I could not bring myself to press send. The letter stayed on my desktop, unsent, while the silence in my apartment deepened around me. The first ping on my laptop came from a friend I had not spoken to in weeks. "Naila, is this you?" I frowned, clicked the link, and waited. The moment the audio started, every muscle in my body locked. Kristen's voice boomed through my speakers, sharp and unmistakable. "Shut up." Then came her mocking tone, that cruel imitation of my voice, high, squeaky, exaggerated until it barely sounded human. I pressed pause so fast my hand shook, but the damage was already done. My humiliation had taken on a life of its own. My phone, which I had finally turned on an hour earlier, lit up in an instant. Notifications poured in faster than I could swipe. Twitter, Reddit, TikTok, my name, my voice, my worst moment. Another message popped up from Jessa. "Naila, it is everywhere." Someone leaked the entire recording. I played it again, this time forcing myself to listen. At the 11-second mark, I heard it quiet but clear enough. Laughter, 2 different voices, men, executives who had been sitting at the table that morning. They were laughing at me too. As the clip spread, strangers online began dissecting every second. "This is workplace bullying. Who treats an employee like this? That manager needs to be fired." I watched comments scroll past, hundreds of them, then thousands. People I had never met were defending me, calling out the company, tagging workplace advocacy groups. Someone even dug up Kristen's public LinkedIn and began circulating screenshots of her bragging about leadership training. I covered my mouth with my hand, not sure whether to cry or breathe or shut the whole world off again. The clip kept playing in the background of every post, every share, every thread. My laptop buzzed again, an internal email thread forwarded by a coworker. "PR crisis." One message read, "Contain it." Another replied, "Find out who leaked it." But no one, not even the people panicking inside that building, seemed to realize something important. The person who leaked the audio had also been in the room. On the morning of the 4th day, I woke to the sound of my phone vibrating across the nightstand. The screen glowed with a single notification, 47 missed calls. My heart thudded once, hard. The first voicemail was Kristen's voice, sharp and clipped. "Naila, call me back immediately. This is getting out of hand." The second message came barely an hour later. "You need to respond. The recording is out there, and people are twisting what happened. We need to present a unified explanation." By the time I reached the 10th voicemail, her tone had shifted. "Naila, please. We just need to talk. I can fix this." I set the phone down, but it continued buzzing in my hand. Text after text flashed across the screen. From HR Naila, "We are deeply concerned. Please contact us as soon as possible so we can support you." From a senior partner I barely knew, "The situation is affecting client relations. We need clarity." From an unknown number, Evergreen Earth Initiative has requested a formal statement about the incident. My stomach twisted. Evergreen. The clients who had witnessed everything. I pressed play on another voicemail. "Naila, this is Mariah from HR. Reporters have been calling. A local station wants a comment. We need you back in the office." A reporter. That meant the story had jumped from social media into the real world. I opened my laptop with trembling hands. The first headline on a Seattle news site read, "Marketing firm under fire after employee humiliation recording surfaces." My name was not mentioned, but Kristen's was. My throat tightened as I scrolled through the article, each line chipping away at the thin layer of numbness I had built around myself. Kristen's actions were under investigation. The firm was reviewing its internal practices. The article ended with a quote from a workplace ethics expert calling the recording evidence of a hostile environment. My phone buzzed again. Kristen calling for the 48th time. I let it ring until it stopped. No one wanted my silence anymore. They needed my voice. A new email slid into my inbox this time, not from HR, not from Kristen, not from a number begging for clarity. The subject line read, "From Amira Felden Evergreen Earth Initiative." My breath stalled. I opened it. "Hi, Naila. I was in the room during the presentation. I saw what happened. I want to talk, if you are willing." Before I could overthink it, another message came through, this time a follow-up. I used to have a soft, high-pitched voice too. I grew out of it, but I still remember how people treated me because of it. "What your manager did was unacceptable." I typed back, hands unsteady. "Thank you. I do not know what to say." Her reply arrived almost instantly. "You do not have to say anything. I already sent a formal complaint to your company's board. They contacted us for clarification, and I told them exactly what I saw." I stared at the screen. "You filed it yourself." "Yes." She wrote, "I put my name on it. Kristen humiliated you in front of us. That is not something I am willing to ignore." I swallowed hard. My fingers hovered over the keys. "Everyone keeps asking who leaked the recording. Was it someone from your team?" A pause. "Then I know who leaked it. Naila." My pulse kicked. "Who I cannot say yet." She responded, "But I will tell you this. It was someone inside your building. Someone who also felt small under that ceiling. When the time is right, you will understand." I leaned back, gripping the edge of my desk. Amira sent one more message, softer this time. "You deserve to be treated with dignity. Do not let them convince you otherwise." As her words settled, something inside me shifted, not confidence, not yet, but a faint pull in my chest. A reminder that not everyone had watched silently. Someone had spoken up. Someone had acted, and someone inside that conference room had decided the truth needed to be heard. On a rainy Seattle morning, I walked back into the building I had run from 4 days earlier. My badge trembled slightly in my hand as I scanned in. The moment the elevator doors opened, I felt dozens of eyes on me. "Naila's back," someone murmured near the receptionist's desk. 2 analysts paused mid-conversation. One offered me a tiny nod, almost supportive. Another quickly looked away, pretending to study her tablet. I kept walking, my breath steady but shallow. When I reached the conference floor, HR was waiting. Mariah stepped forward with a tight smile. "Thank you for coming in. We want to clear up the misunderstanding." I stared at her. "Misunderstanding. Is that what you are calling it?" Kristen appeared behind her, perfectly composed in a fresh blazer, hair pinned back like nothing had happened. "Naila," she said smoothly. "We should talk privately." I ignored her and placed a folder on the table between us. "These are Slack messages from the past month. You will see the pattern." I handed Mariah printed screenshots, jokes about my voice, comments about keeping me off calls, and one message I had saved from a coworker warning me not to speak unless necessary. Kristen's smile wavered. "Those are out of context. I also have emails," I continued, "and 3 people who witnessed the presentation." One of the analysts behind her lowered her gaze, confirming silently that she had heard everything. Kristen stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Dragging this out will not help anyone. We should manage the narrative before it gets worse." "It is already worse," I said quietly. Mariah cleared her throat. "Naila, the board has asked for updates every few hours. Senior leadership is watching this closely. Please know that everything you provide today will be reviewed directly by them." The room stilled. Kristen's expression cracked just enough for me to see the panic flickering underneath. I gathered my papers and sat down, the weight of the moment settling over all of us. The truth was finally on the table, and nothing would stay hidden much longer. I was summoned to the top floor just after noon. The executive assistant barely looked up when she said, "They are waiting for you." "Naila." CEO's conference room. Inside. The room was small but tense. Jennifer Armitage, our CEO, sat at the head of the table. 3 board members lined the opposite side, their faces unreadable. Kristen stood near the window, arms crossed tightly. Jennifer gestured to a chair. Please sit. We need to review the evidence you provided. I placed my folder on the table. One board member clicked a remote, and the audio recording filled the room. Kristen's "shut up" echoed first, followed by the imitation of my voice and the muffled laughter from two executives. Kristen stiffened. This is being taken the wrong way. It was a moment of stress. Office humor, she insisted. Office humor, Jennifer repeated slowly. We have received multiple complaints about your conduct over the past 3 years. Were those also humor? Kristen's jaw tightened. Those were misunderstandings. A board member lifted a printout. We have emails where you instructed your team to avoid putting Naila on client calls because of her voice. That was strategic. Kristen argued. I was protecting the company image. Jennifer leaned forward. Mocking an employee, publicly humiliating her, and encouraging others to do the same is not strategy. It is discrimination. Kristen opened her mouth, but no words came. The board's decision came swiftly. Effective immediately. One member announced, "You are suspended pending a full investigation. Final disciplinary action will be determined within 2 weeks." Kristen's face drained of color. Before she could respond, a quiet knock came at the door. A junior analyst, Evan Pierce, stepped inside nervously. He glanced at me. I was the one who leaked the recording," he said softly. Kristen mocked my stutter last year. I could not stay silent anymore. Jennifer nodded once. Thank you for your honesty. The room fell silent as the weight of the truth settled. Kristen's power had finally fractured. The moment Kristen was escorted out, Jennifer turned to me. Naila, stay for a moment. I want to speak with you privately. The board members stepped out one by one, leaving the room strangely quiet. Jennifer folded her hands. You have been through something deeply unfair. I am not going to pretend otherwise. I nodded, unsure what to say. She continued, Your old position is yours again if you want it. No conditions. No questions. Her tone was steady, but there was something heavier beneath it, an invitation, not an order. I let out a slow breath. I do not know if I can walk back into that role and act like nothing happened. That is why I am offering something different, she said. She pulled a folder from her briefcase and slid it across the table. Voice and Communication Inclusion Lead. It is a new role. You would help reshape the culture here. Training, policy, workplace standards. You know better than anyone what needs to change. My pulse jumped. It was a position that had never existed, likely created because of everything I had endured. Jennifer leaned back. This is not a consolation prize. This is a chance to make sure no one else goes through what you did. I hesitated. It is just... My voice has been something people pick apart my whole life. I do not know if I am ready to stand in front of a room and talk about it. She shook her head gently. Your voice is the reason people are listening now. As if on cue, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Another message from a company I had not spoken to in years requesting a meeting, praising my advocacy, asking if I would consider consulting. The viral clip had reached farther than I imagined. Jennifer watched me carefully. You do not have to decide today. But whatever you choose, know that this company needs you. I closed the folder slowly, the weight of it settling into my hands. Weeks later, the office looked the same. Same glass walls, same buzzing conversations, but everything felt shifted, as if someone had quietly turned a dial and reset the frequency. I stepped into the small training room where a circle of employees waited, some nervous, some curious. Thank you all for being here, I began. My voice was steady, soft as always, but no one flinched at the sound. No one smirked. This program is designed to help every one of us communicate without fear of judgment or dismissal. A woman from accounting raised her hand. I have a thick Colombian accent. I used to avoid speaking during presentations because Kristen mocked me once. She paused, cheeks flushing. I thought it was my fault. It was not your fault. I said, not then, and not now. A few heads nodded. I saw the relief in their eyes, small, but real. After the session, Amira walked in, a warm smile already forming. "I just spoke with my director," she said. "Evergreen wants to adopt the same communication training for our teams, maybe even develop a joint program with you. What do you think?" My chest tightened in a good way. "I think it is overdue." We moved to a corner of the room as she looked over my notes. "You have a gift for this." "Naila, people listen because you speak without trying to overpower anyone." Before I could answer, 2 employees approached. One of them, a junior designer, shifted awkwardly. "Can we talk to you privately?" he asked. I nodded, and they stepped closer. "She used to mock me too," he admitted quietly. "Not my voice, but the way I pause when I speak. She said it made me sound unsure." The other added, "She told me my southern accent sounded unprofessional." I stopped talking in meetings. Their voices were barely above a whisper. Shame had lived there too long. "You are not alone," I told them, "and none of that will continue." Their shoulders loosened. The first sign that the damage Kristen left behind was beginning to surface and heal. As they walked out, Amira placed a hand on my arm. "This is only the beginning," she said, and for the first time in a long while, I believed her. The day I stood in front of the board to deliver the new company-wide communication strategy, my hands trembled, but not from fear this time. They trembled from something steadier, something I had not felt in months. Control. Jennifer nodded at me from her seat. "Whenever you are ready." "Naila." I took a breath and began. "Our company needs a culture where voices are not ranked by tone or volume, but by contribution. Every one of us deserves to be heard without ridicule." My voice rang soft and airy, exactly as it always had. Not one person flinched. Not one person laughed. One board member leaned forward. "How do you plan to implement this with training, policy updates, and accountability?" I said, "Real accountability." From the corner of my eye, I saw Kristen's empty chair, the one she had occupied in nearly every meeting for years. It would not be filled again. After the session ended, Jennifer caught up to me outside the room. "It is done," she said. "Kristen has been terminated with cause. The investigation confirmed a pattern of discriminatory behavior. She will not return." I nodded, letting that truth settle without triumph or bitterness. It simply was. Later that afternoon, Amira called. "Evergreen wants you to lead the communication section of our upcoming campaign," she said. "They asked for you specifically." A warmth spread through me, not pride, exactly, but recognition. I had stepped into my voice, and for once, the world had leaned in instead of pushing back. By early evening, the boardroom was empty. I gathered my notes and walked out onto the terrace overlooking downtown Seattle. The air was cool, touched with the smell of rain. I whispered into it, quietly but firmly. The voice they once tried to silence is the voice that rebuilt everything, and I knew I was only just beginning.